Everything's all right? Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first development-related meetup. Most of you know SEO as an SEO agency, but at last year we started a new business which is called SEO.2. By the way, it helps us to introduce amazing technology which is ClickHouse. And then we contact with them thanks to Ivan and the amazing ClickHouse team. They are come together to Istanbul, and 2 days later we will go to Ankara. If you have any developer friends that's interested with database technologies, we will be happy to host them in Ankara too. So I will not go into technical details because Olga knows better than all of us. So let's understand what ClickHouse is doing for us. After that, we will continue with a case study. Thanks a lot for joining our meetup.
I'm Alexei, developer of ClickHouse. So welcome to our meetup. And one quick announcement before we start. Today we have very special prize, and this prize will go to the best question. Best question to all of the talks that we'll have. But actually we have two these prizes, and the first one will go to Meetup organizers. I will show you. Here it is. Do you know him?
Yeah.
What it is?
Actually the new logo of the ClickHouse maybe?
No. It is
like GoPro, it shows like
the famous hero from a Russian animated movie. Do you know its name?
Unfortunately, it's my
Maybe anyone can say what it is? No! No, it's not Masha from Russia, it's Cheburashka.
Cheburashka, okay. Thanks a lot.
But,
I will feed it.
Yeah. But also, I have something even better. But you cannot win this kind of prize. I can give it only to ClickHouse contributors. Is there any ClickHouse contributors in this room? Yes, one. Anyone else who has contributed at least one line of source code to our code?
Does documentations count as social?
Yeah, everything.
Okay, then I'm confused.
Okay. This is even better than Cheburashka. Exclusive. ClickHouse contributor stickers. But first, you have to explain what part have you contributed? What part of documentation?
I've translated some documents from Russian to English.
Perfect. But what kind?
I think it was about table engines.
Okay. And you? Can you explain your contribution?
ORC input format.
ORC. Great. Yeah, I remember. Okay, now welcome ClickHouse developer Olga.
So, hello everybody. Yeah, my name is Olga and I'm ClickHouse core developer. And who knows what is ClickHouse? Oh, good. Okay, and today we will talk about what is ClickHouse, and let's start with its history. ClickHouse appeared in Yandex company. Who knows Yandex? Oh, good. Okay, and who use Yandex search system? Okay. And who use Yandex Navigator? Much more. Okay, good. So Yandex company, it's not only a navigator or search system, it's many other businesses and technologies, like Yandex Taxi, Yandex car sharing service, Metric, and many others. And technologies like machine learning library CatBoost, who knows? Who knows CatBoost? Oh, good. We would have another presentation about it, so you can be introduced with it. And self-driving car, voice assistant Alisa, and others. So let's go back to 2009, and then Yandex Metrica, that is one of spin-offs of advertisement system, allows to its users just a few predefined reports for analyzing the behavior of users or of website owners. So it's like Google Analytics, but in 2009 the reports were fixed and worse than this type, like it's viewed today. And amount of users grows, and they all have unique needs, and it was too difficult to decide what data to pre-aggregate. And one of solutions was to process raw data, but MySQL couldn't do it in reasonable time, so there was a decision to make a first prototype of ClickHouse. So in 2012, first production processes with ClickHouse as core technology. And the requirements of Yandex Metrica were to be fast, to be able to process data in real time, to be capable of storing petabytes of data, and to be fault tolerant in terms of data centers in different geo positions. And the technology was so successful inside Yandex. You remember that inside Yandex there are a lot of companies, and they begin to test it and to use it in their tasks, and they were impressed with its speed, and so ClickHouse appeared to be too good to stay inside Yandex. So in 2016, we make it open source. More technical details you can find about it. You can find in article below. It's rather worth reading. So what is ClickHouse? Let's start like real users of ClickHouse and see in the documentation. We have really strong documentation, and here we would have some key points from it. So what is column oriented? It's like columns. If it's not enough understandable, let's see another schema. When we have column-oriented storing, it means that different columns stored stored separately. So in scenario when we need to analyze data, we have just stored as much data as we can about some events, and then we want to look only on a few required columns, just few required parts of events. For this scenario, column-orientedness is much more faster. And in this way storing, we have more effective compression. Why? Because in real data we have many similar data locally stored, and it's compressed better. Because as a result, we can reduce I/O time, so it becomes more efficient. And we have opportunity to have vectorized query execution to process several cells in one instruction. It's very fast. So what means analytical processing of queries? It means that you won't use ClickHouse when you have immutable and with well-structured data. For example, please. When you don't want to use ClickHouse, when you need to have an online transaction processing system, or key value storage, or document storage. So these are anti-patterns for ClickHouse. And when we talk about online processing, we mean 2 points. First of all, that you have no logs while inserting data. So you can insert data and select data simultaneously, and you would have an answer without immediately. And you would have answer without a delay because queries are processed without any preparation of answer. So it's not like a heavy map-reduce operations or something kind of, I don't know, another systems. But I know that they're very slow and they're very frustrating sometimes. So how fast is ClickHouse? Blazing fast. We have many benchmarks on our official site from our team, from independent bloggers. On the official site, you could choose different combinations to see how it works and how fast it works, and you can see benchmarks from independent bloggers too. But who trusts benchmarks? I trust more in people and people experience, and once I have a cup of coffee with a guy who told me that in previous project he moved data from Redshift to ClickHouse, and when he the migrating, he decided to validate data, and he just entered the query to ClickHouse, and it's processed immediately. And then he decided to enter the same query in Redshift, click entered, and started to wait. He drank a cup of coffee, then another cup of coffee, and after the third cup of coffee, he just decided to cancel the validation, and they just continue to use ClickHouse and to go on working on the top of the fast database management system. And first, I think that he just tried to flatter me because he knew that I'm from ClickHouse team, but then he sent me the link about this experience, so it's a real story, and you could read it too. So, how to use ClickHouse? We have several table engines, but the main choice to store data is merge tree engine. If you want to have replicas, then replicated merge tree. There we have several options to change a little the behavior, and you could have replacing merge tree, summing merge tree, and so on. But I wouldn't detail in it. You can find it in documentation. And we have log and tiny log engines for storing small chunks of data. So when you have data and you want to process it and then just store in your merge tree table, log engines for you. And some other engines that are used for integrations. So like Kafka, MySQL, HDFS. About Kafka, we have very interesting presentation in Tokyo Meetup, and you can find it on our YouTube channel. If you use Kafka and want to use it with ClickHouse, I highly recommend it to look at this presentation. So to understand how it works in integration table engines, let's talk about HDFS. HDFS table don't store the data. The data is stored inside HDFS, and you just make a table as a lookup to your storage. So if you're afraid to move all your data from HDFS to ClickHouse, you can just begin with making table with ClickHouse on the top of HDFS. It's a very simple way to migrate your data, to import your data, to have an insert select from HDFS to merge tree. And some special table engines, they don't store the data too, like distributed one. When you have a replicated merge tree and you want to work with it, you can work with it in distributed fashion. by using queries to distributed table. Okay. ClickHouse has very flexible SQL dialect. It's very convenient to use it. Here I have some points from the documentation I like more, but it's much more longer than it is on the slide. Aggregating functions and combinators for them means we have many specified aggregating functions, and you can use suffix to change the behavior of different aggregating functions. So they're even more flexible than just a long specified list of them in documentation. Then we have high-order functions, many types too, for arrays. Arrays are very flexible in ClickHouse. You can use any hierarchy of your data as you like, and then use it in your analysis. Then you can apply machine learning functions, and as I told, we would have another presentation about it. And one of good features, pluggable external key value dictionaries that allow you to use very interesting data structure in case you want to use join. It's something like a small key value base outside ClickHouse. Highly recommended to read documentation about it. So just a few examples. Array function. If you have an aggregating function, for example, sum, it's just summing. You can add suffix array as many times as you want, and then in this way you can sum all the elements of arrays of any nesting ways to store arrays. For example, if you have arrays in array, you can write array twice and count sum of all the structure. Very strange function, array join. So I like it because it's very strange. And to explain it, it's easier to look at an example. It just take first column and create a row for each element of each array of it, and other columns are duplicated for each of it, for each row. We have very interesting ways to introspection, and I highly recommended you to read about it, because when you just launch your ClickHouse, you can enable settings for query log and query thread log, and it allows you to have any information about your queries, a lot of information, okay, not all, and when you have something strange in your processes, you would just open it, select from it, and you could understand what was happened. And some other system tables that also helps you to work with your instance. Some additional feature, it's our system contributors table. If you are a contributor, you appear in this system table. So you can select your name from it.
And you can get a prize from me.
Yeah. By the way, you could appear there until the end of the meetup and have the prize until the end of meetup. As far as I remember, in Munich, there was a guy who, during meetup, fixed a typo in documentation and got his prize.
And also in Tokyo
And also in Tokyo, yeah.
for documentation.
For documentation. So, yeah, we have many typos in documentations and comments, so
Okay.
you can just try, yeah. So, summary. The fastness of ClickHouse not only let your analysis more healthier and drink less coffee, but it allows it allows your business to be more flexible and to react on external circumstances as fast as you could, and it reduce the time of solutions. It's very important, I think. ClickHouse is linear scalable. You, in one hand, you have just try it on your laptop, because you shouldn't have many resources to try it. You can just launch it and try, and it could be so fast too. And you have no limits about growing. You can have as many servers of ClickHouse as you want. ClickHouse is fault tolerance, so we have replication, and it is multi-master and asynchronous. It's very convenient for online analytical processing scenario. And system table, system replicas would help you to understand behavior of your ClickHouse. And ClickHouse is a strong open source. We have a great community, and I'm happy to be a part of it, and you could just be a part of it too. And as I told earlier, our documentation is stored in the main repo, so you can, if you don't like C++ and you don't want to be a part of C++ community, you could help us with writing documentation and making our documentation even more strong, and be a contributor as a result. We have also repo with named ClickHouse presentations with presentations. So all the materials from our meetups are stored in this repo, and it can be very helpful for you. So thank you for your attention. Any questions? Yeah?
I have some questions. So I guess I first like to provide you some background as to why I'm asking these. So I'm a database consultant for large retailers, basically, where they have, I would say, 500 million to 1 billion rows in various tables, and of course you need to do some joins, etc., and calculate. So I was doing some prototyping for some applications in ClickHouse, in contrast to other technologies that I use in production, like Oracle and Redshift, and I saw very, very good performance. So first of all, thank you for that. So the question that I have, though, is it's difficult to identify when there is a slow query, let's say on the order of rather than few seconds, let's say 10, 20 seconds, it's difficult to characterize whether it's happening because of the table engine that I'm using, or it's because of RAM or CPU. So is there a good way to identify what's the bottleneck? Of course, we can now provision any kind of server that we want on AWS, but the benchmarks on your website also are with respect to only one type of server. So I was wondering if there is any study where using more RAM or more CPU helps, and in which cases, and so on. So that's sort of a little bit difficult. And the second question is, in terms of, so I'm an entrepreneur that's sort of all alone in some sense when I'm developing these applications. From an administration of the system perspective, is there anything that I mean, it's difficult to find resources where people say you need to take care of this and that, and or like the ClickHouse server can stay up for 1 month, 2 months without touching it at all, kind of thing. Is there any user story like this based on what you have seen so far?
About the second question, I think first of all, it's interesting to read blogs. We have a partner, Altinity, maybe you know, and they have just a section in their blog with user stories. And it's first point, and second point, we have meetups, and we stored the presentations about them on GitHub and videos from them on YouTube, and I think very helpful to just to have some lookup of them, because there you can see real user stories, and you, for example, if you watch the translation, you could just maybe even ask in comments and so on and so forth. But yes, it's interesting task about how to accumulate success stories, and it's a very art task because it's not trivial. And about first your question, I think Alexei could answer because it's.
So the first question was how to analyze what was the bottleneck of your query. I have a presentation specifically about this question. It is named Performance Analysis of ClickHouse Queries. You can find it on YouTube, but I can just answer your question quickly. It is easy. First, enable query log. Do you use query log?
Yes.
And look at the query performance metrics inside query log table. There are metrics about CPU usage in user space, in OS kernel, about disk I/O, and about how much memory the query takes. And you can compare two different queries or the same query at different moments of time on what is the difference of resources that this query are using.
questions? More?
Every question is qualified for Cheburashka. Like this. So please ask more questions. And
Be
you can
careful,
win.
Cheburashka can sing songs. Yeah.
Can you give us a bit more information about I think you have a new engine type, which is S3. I saw it in the comments when I was checking the commit logs. Could you summarize how it works and what plans do you have with it for in the future?
You can use S3 table engine to import and export data from external S3 file system. It works mostly like file table engine. So you specify data format, you specify path on S3, and you can write to this engine. Data will be written to S3, and you can read, and data will be imported from S3. Currently, it is still in development stage. We have basic implementation, but authentication is not supported yet. We have pull request for authentication, and it expected to be ready for usage in November.
More questions?
If no more,
I have
okay.
one more, actually. I know it's not the best use case, but what is the ideal approach to take for handling rapidly mutating data?
There are many different solutions. Not all of them have some advantages, some disadvantages, because ClickHouse is not intended for continuously updating data. But one solution is to use data updates in background. You can use